The following is a channeled message I received in the bathtub from the Arcturian Council of Calibration. This is a council that is designed to assist our physical vessels in calibrating to changes in collective energies. In this channel, there is a very clear explanation about what we are physically experiencing and how this might be softened for light workers through some upcoming technologies I have been shown that can be utilized through my guidance and or application for people in one-on-one sessions, and simply sharing some of that with you now. So I hope you enjoy, and it is very intensive information that has caused dizziness in recipients, including myself. So sit down, get comfortable, and buckle up for a wild ride. I'm getting so much information so damn fast that I am needing to just I'd like to have music in the background, but I need to record everything right now. So number one, I'm needing to recode basic functional modifications within the human vessel that are foundational. They're like it's all the sims. So like a sim, when it's created, there are certain attributes that it is born or created with by its creator that is chosen. That is the higher self of the individual, the oversoul, the monad self. Those modifications that are picked, essentially, like in Sims, we call them like personality traits, but for us, it's our decision of what zodiac we are born in. And this, because time and space are irrelevant, we can pop in to these incarnations at any time that we wish, out of order. It doesn't matter, because there is no timeline, because time is relative. And so we could theoretically experience this time right now, and then in another chosen incarnation go back and be incarnated at a different time in order to alter what is a present circumstance in our present perception of reality. And so what I'm seeing is that there is a need to actually recode one's foundational coding. That recoding naturally is rebooted upon a Kundalini awakening, that it kind of like wipes clear the coding. It purifies it. So you are no longer bound to these limiting, quote, personality traits. But prior to experiencing a full Kundalini awakening, there is the ability of one to access the time and space field, which is through a 64-point tetrahedron. Within that geometry, it holds a certain frequency that allows like an unlocking to that coding. It's like opening up to the matrix coding of the entire fabric of that monad's capacity to function and exist in a given reality matrix or program. And so being able to get into and unlock this 64-point tetrahedron is the access point. And that is something that is achievable only by someone who has the ability to traverse time and space already. B, that permission is given by the person holding the keys to have the coding altered, with full understanding of what that means, including but not limited to the outcomes. Like if you have attachment to your present existence in the way that it looks, feels, and is experienced, this is not something to play with because it will alter everything in your life that isn't in alignment with the coding that you wish to have within your life is going to be stripped away in organic ways, but potentially through aggressive means. So if your timeline does not involve your highest timeline that you're wishing to like recode because you no longer want to have the limiting belief of, say, abundance, you are potentially going to like get fired or lose your job that is not in alignment with being able to receive abundance. And it's not just about like people that aren't in the place to receive this are going to be limited to, I hope I get a raise. But that's not what it is. It's burning down everything that's preventing the accessibility to the timeline in which you have permanent abundance, which is to release every attachment you have that is connected to a perception of time and money exchanges, basically, because that is the distorted version of how money can flow. It is limited. It's completely limited to a paced Saturn level exchange that is in and of itself completely inequitable. It's ludicrous to even conceive of any equity of a divine being paid monetarily for an hour's worth of existence. That's insane from that higher perspective. So anyone who's wishing to have that recoding happen has to be releasing, they have to have been in a point in their ascension process to be comfortable releasing all of those attachments anyway. That could involve a releasing of relationships, um, places that you live, you know, perceptions of familial and intimate interpersonal relationships, like everything could dissolve based off of what you're asking the recoding to get into. And it happens as quickly or slowly as someone's willing to participate in. But it's understanding the quantum nature of going into this time and space sweet spot where you can recode what you want your life to look like. If you want your life to look like abundance, be willing to release everything preventing you from your own personal abundance. If you are wanting to serve humanity, everything that is not in the state of serving humanity is going to be released from your life. So it is realizing the power and the potency of your intention. But it's to go into this field of the 64-point tetrahedron, which is the access point of time and space, almost like it in itself is a stargate as we would understand, but to time and space. So it's like a main menu of, okay, what do you want to do from here? And then you get to decide. You can write that code, you can delete code, you can move coding around, you can go into your understanding of previous lives to heal the way a wound was experienced that is carried over into this energetic field that holds some kind of contract around, well, I am afraid of blank. I always have been. Well, that could be because you had a death related to that particular present day fear. And so if you go back to another lifetime and maybe you're not able to change the way you died because it would change so many things, but perhaps you go into it with uh, giving your sense, your consciousness of that lifetime, the ability to access universal understanding moments before your last breath so that your body isn't in that state of fight or flight, shock and fear, lizard brain when you exit the plane, which then creates a scar in the energetic field relating to your monad self that you hold onto until it's released. So that could, in fact, accessing that through the time and space portal within the or the 64 point tetrahedron, you are then able to release or untangle that knot from another lifetime to release your relationship to that wound in this lifetime. It's basically like an EMDR trauma therapy for your entire existence. And it can also act as a coding so that you can access skills from other lifetimes with greater ease, and with conscious intention. And it's through that conscious intention, it's almost creating a route or a shortcut, like building a website. You've got a main page. You could have a landing page for something else that has lots of information, but unless you link the two, like you put a button on your main page to access that landing page, you're not going to be able to get to it except through the back door, which is a lot more work. So what if you're able to put a shortcut into your mainframe to access with this button your skill and ability to perceive synchronicities more clearly, or that you wish to be able to blatantly recognize do this or don't do this through physical sensations, like your own compass. So you can link those things, but you have to go in and you have to link them in the building, and the building of the website or the game or whatever analogy you wish to choose. And so going into that and altering it is done. It could be done by somebody else like me because I have access to all of these things, or it can be done individually for people who just simply, they have access, they just didn't know that that's a thing that they could intentionally seek access and then work with. So it's partially about educating people that this exists, and then it's partially about creating an accessibility point for someone to access through my work, so I could get into those spaces and recode the modification that is causing a short out in the present reality. And this is, I'm hearing, related to the ability to calibrate your physical vessel to changes that are happening on the mainframe. So like, this is a metaphor for when there is a new, like Sims 4, Sims 5, Sims 7. So the whole main game changes to, let's just say it's a new Earth. And some of those modifications that you had that your character ran in aren't updated for the new system upgrade. And so there is a glitch that takes place in the sim. They will like get stuck walking into a wall, or they will like pee themselves, or their anger goes off the handle, or they age too quickly. Those things are things that happen in real life also. They're mirrors through the law of correspondence. And so um, I'm being shown that it's a matter of being able to, like, as our collective experience is going through an upgrade, say the upgrade of the entire system, a new Earth, we are also needing in ourselves to gently, with the aspects of us that we want to keep, to be able to gently upgrade those to align with our new Earth. And we are wanting to release the things that no longer serve in this reality. So if you've worked on an old computer with The Sims 1 from the 90s, you can't even turn on the computer to access those mods now. But if it was like 2 modifications ago of the entire system, you could probably get online, but you'd move really slowly. Things would be sluggish. Things aren't moving fluidly, and you feel stuck. That means that those modifiers need to be erased and recoded to the new reality with the new coding system. And that's what this 64 point tetrahedron is able to do. It is able to go in and connect the dots and the wires, kind of like the old telephone mainframes, like in Little House on the Prairie, when Mrs. Olson was like connecting this to that and connecting these two ends. These are all ways for us to see how this works on on the non-physical. Even though we can't see it, doesn't mean it doesn't work that way. With our intention, we, with our minds, move a connection. It's like cutting cords. You disconnect. People understand that concept, but you're also like trying to connect A and B with your intention. Simply because you don't see them being connected doesn't mean that that isn't the case. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. That is creating a non-physical attention and bond between one element to another through all time and space. And so it's kind of like driving blind if you don't believe that you can, with your intention, specify where you want this to go. And so I'm being shown that this is a matter of weaving time and space within this 64 point tetrahedron, which is really being able to shed concepts of the limiting beliefs that we have been held in through what are perceived um, world rules limit us to in the material. In the immaterial or different dimensions, we're not as limited. We can, by thought or intention, move through time and space to another realm within, like before the thought is complete, we've moved. That doesn't require an airport and luggage and tickets and boarding passes. It doesn't require an Uber or a rental car or a 2 hour line at budget car rental in Arizona. It doesn't require all that. It's all with instantaneous intention. We are able to get to this destination without limits, without borders, without passports. And that's universally. That's within any galactic realm we wish to traverse. And so for us to think we're limited simply to what is physical is so beyond it confining. We're being asked to enter a space where we're not going to be limited. In our coding, we can code a person, aka ourselves, to open the flow of energetic circuitry, allowing a greater flow and without blockage. There are reasons that our systems limit us from physical movement. There's a reason our systems shame us into our sexual creation energy to not access it, or to not access it in a healthy way so it becomes distorted. Um, Interpersonal relationships, being inequitable and feeling senses of obligation and being called narcissistic for standing up for yourself, all of those programs that are put into our societal fabric limit us from having a clear channel to be able to access the flow of abundance. It's only been accessible to people who have the insights and are not limited to a matrix mindset or the programming itself. And so it's to go in and recognize the coding really within all system levels that are collectively distorted beneath a certain, I would say, a threshold of neutrality. So if there's something below the threshold of neutrality, and that would be like fear and shame and all of those kinds of emotions that keeps a person blocked from abundance, to release those. And from that point, the person is able to like not have a ceiling that limits their capacity to access those higher realms. It's more of a it's disconnecting what is no longer serving and connecting to higher realms and higher frequencies that allow a greater flow of the energetic circuit to run fluidly, allowing as much appropriate intake and expression of energy that is necessary for the fluid to continue moving, which is why I was actually like so tightly constricted with all the information that was within me and all the codes I'd taken in that I didn't have access to. You couldn't see what was in the pack. It's so funny now as I think about it. Like on my way back from Arizona, I overpacked and I didn't want to get like the heavy, I'm just now seeing this. I didn't want to get the heavyweight charge for $100 extra for my bag, so I packed so much into my backpack that it was so densely packed that at TSA they actually made me unpack the backpack because they couldn't see through it. They couldn't see what was in my backpack. They're like, "We need you to unpack it because we don't know what you have in here." And and that's precisely what I've had to do coming back from Arizona. I got so much that I had to start unpacking it to be able to even see what ended up in my bag. And what's so funny is, and I'm sure I'll understand this more later, is that I had accidentally put my grid working knife at the base of my backpack in one of the extra pockets. I didn't even know I remember I had. It has so many pockets, this backpack. And it's such a heavy knife. I actually have lost it literally every single time I've used it because it's so heavy. It sinks to the bottom. And I didn't realize that it was in my backpack, and I had to unpack it to even find that I had that. And I got kind of a little bit of trouble with TSA. They're like, "Well, one thing's not coming with you." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to be shady. Is anyone going to get to have that knife? Because it's a really good knife." And he said, "Well, we have an auction for all the stuff that's put aside that we take away from people. Someone will get it." And I was like, "Well, good. I can always get another one. It's not a big deal." But I think it's so interesting that I had so much packed and it was so heavy that they couldn't see through it. And that's precisely how I felt returning from Sedona. Was I was frustrated and constricted because there was so much packed in. I didn't even know what I had. And so now that the windy city and the breath work is allowing more expansion to like get a clear view of what I got in Sedona, of what I got in St. Gertrude's and what I got in Austin, to be able to start connecting those things to even work with what I have. So I'm accessing a file to see which I want to work with and what is going to need modified or deleted in order to make space for it. So this is all very within the laws of correspondence. But it is a matter of being able to do that in order to start feeling more comfortable in the overall operating system. The operating system has switched, and really that did on 11/11. There was a new Earth timeline that anchored into this unity state that has been anchored. It's been anchored, and everything is moving to anchor with it now, and it's going in fast and slow ways. And so that is physically with us. Those of us that are closer to it are able to make that move more quickly, and that's why I'm feeling really physically shitty right now. But I'm going through the modification so I can understand how to assist people as they go through more aggressive modifications in their upgrades when things are shifted. And it's going to be a variety of impact, which moves to number two, which is the calibration factor. Not only are we recoding, but we're also going to be going through a tremendous amount of detoxification and withdrawal from systemic poisons that involve everything from frequency to physical, like poison that we are drinking, breathing, eating, everything we use on and in our bodies, in our homes, around us, our like down to the fabrics that we wear has some kind of pollutant that is preventing us from accessing our higher state of being and our godhood. And in fact, it's been so aggressively increased over the last 40 years, specifically because of fear of overpopulation, and also with what the cycles of the planets are, and with the solar maximum at this time, with um, Project Looking Glass, to know that there's a singular outcome, that no matter what variable is plugged into this formula, we end up with the same outcome, which is where the darkness falls and our cycle goes back into a golden age. And there's nothing to prevent that. And so they have actively been trying to harness as much density in this last gobble gobble period as possible through this prevention of ascension, to get as much food for them as possible before they exit. And so we have been put in these structures and systems to harvest our attention, our time, our fear, all of that, our health, our livelihood, our creation energy, everything has been, every system that exists has harnessed our creation energy. And so, as the things that have kept us from accessing our universal knowledge or our pineal gland, including laws preventing us from using plant medicines, etc., everything doing that, including like fluoride to calcify the pineal gland, and everything big and small that Osho told me about over a year and a half ago, they're all there to prevent us from understanding our own personal power. And so as people start withdrawing from these collective substances, their bodies are going to withdraw in ways that are extraordinarily painful. As they're becoming aware of all of these systems that have held them down, are going to be purging with anger, frustration, depression, sadness, loss of time, regret, rage. There's going to be a lot of disruption, and it's really important that the light workers are able to clear this out themselves prior to that collective unearthing, so that we'll be able to assist and guide people to the best of our ability, knowing that we can't at all save everybody, because it is an individual path. And so this is just something that is needed for me to offer to the collective, as part of that calibration process, to be able to do this recoding. And that works in tandem with the Kundalini activation to do a lot of that recoding and plugging into universal source light. And that is what was stuck inside my brain.
If you're curious about how this process is going to be applied, I'm putting together a technology kind of structure to be working with people one-on-one in 2 different modalities. And that's going to be offered at the first of the month. So keep an eye out. And wow, this is a lot of incredible energy to look forward to processing, both individually and with all of you.